What is good, everyone? It is your boy Savvy here, and thank you guys so much for tuning in. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys 5 tips for learning 𝓂 in Fortnite with some hand cams. So yeah, with all that being said, make sure you guys drop a like on the video to show me that you guys like content like this. And yeah, we'll just jump right in. Alright, so for tip number 1 is getting a feel for 𝓂. So getting a feel for 𝓂 would mean like being in creative all the time. So for me in my transition, I spent the first 3 days getting a feel for 𝓂 in creative. So I would spend the first 3 days in creative and I would practice my builds, my 90s, everything that I possibly could. And keep in mind that I did change up all my binds too. So it was like starting fresh. It was like completely starting fresh, like I was a noob again. And yeah, that's what it's gonna feel like for the first couple days, but eventually you will get used to it. So make sure that you guys are staying in creative and you guys are practicing your builds, practicing your retakes, your edits, anything that you can practice. Just make sure that you're practicing it in creative first before you do anything else, so you can get a feel for how 𝓂 works and an overall understanding of what 𝓂 is. So yeah, let's just go on to tip number 2. Alright, so on to tip number 2. So tip number 2 is how to hold the controller, or different ways that you can hold the controller. So all of this is personal preference, it's subjective, it's all up to you and what feels most comfortable to you. So the way I personally play 𝓂 is I have my index finger pressing the face buttons and it just stays there the entire time that I play. And then I have my middle finger pressing R1 and my middle finger also pressing R2. So I transition between R1 and R2 with my middle finger. Another way that you can hold the controller is you could have your ring finger on R2 and your middle finger on R1 like this, with your index finger still on the face buttons like this. That is another way that you can play 𝓂. Another way you could do it is you can have your index finger transition from the face buttons right here to R1 as well. So you're transitioning from R1 and the face buttons with your index finger, and you keep your middle finger on R2. So you're going to be pressing R1 like this, and then you're going to be pressing the face buttons like this. So those are just a couple ways on how you can hold the controller when learning how to play 𝓂. It doesn't really matter how you hold the controller, as long as you're pressing the face buttons with your index finger. That's all that really matters. So yeah, let's just move on to the next tip. Alright, so for tip number 3 is consistency and dedication. So what I mean by consistency and dedication, so I'll start off with being consistent. Being consistent means that you're going to continue to play 𝓂. You're not going to transition. You're not going to give up the first 3 hours and then go back to your regular binds or settings or whatever. You're going to make sure that you're going to stay consistent with learning 𝓂. You're going to make sure that your index finger is always on the face buttons and you're as comfortable as you can be learning 𝓂. And you're going to be consistent with it by going into creative, going into edit maps, edit courses, stuff like that, and doing 1v1s with your friends. That's important. And dedication is making sure that you're just going to stick with it. You're going to wake up each day and want to play 𝓂. You're going to want to learn how to play 𝓂 and want to learn to be a better player overall. So yeah, consistency and dedication is tip number 3. So for tip number 4 is playing squads or team rumble. And why I say squads and team rumble is it's a lot easier to play in team rumble and in squads because you have a team that's going to back you up. You don't have to rely on just yourself and your ability to perform in that match. So playing squads and team rumble is incredibly important. That's really one of the best tips that I could give, because team rumble, there's not a lot of good players in there. So you can be in team rumble and completely be a noob playing 𝓂, like just starting out playing 𝓂, and you're still going to perform decently well because you're familiar with how you used to play. So it's going to be a lot easier to get used to it with team rumble and playing squad. So make sure that you guys do that. So that is tip number 4. So for the 5th and final tip, that is someone to switch with. And what I mean by someone to switch with is have a friend, have a buddy, doesn't matter who it is, but try to convince that person to switch to 𝓂 with you. Do 1v1s, do some friendly competition, because you guys are going to motivate each other. You guys are going to wake up the next day and be like, hey man, I learned this on 𝓂 today, or I did this on 𝓂 today. It's going to push you guys to do it further, and it's going to make you guys want to do it more each day. So yeah, that is tip number 5. That is an incredibly important one. Alright, so I just thought of a bonus tip as I was editing this video. So that is taking advantage of changing your settings while making the transition over to claw. So that means your sensitivity, your keybinds, your dead zones, and all that stuff, because there's so many benefits to using claw, and one of them being able to be very beneficial, having very beneficial settings that can turn you into a better overall player. So also it can make the game feel new and fresh and exciting like it used to when you first started, and that's a big pro in my eyes. So yeah, in conclusion, I can promise you that if you stick with it for a week or so, you'll have it down faster than you think, and you'll definitely surprise yourself. Alright, so that was 5 tips for learning claw in Fortnite. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more videos. It's been your boy Savy, and I hope you guys have an amazing day. Peace.